Hello, Eric and Liz. Thank you for doing this and sitting for this little profile series that we're doing on people in the shul. How are you guys doing today?
Good, thank you. Nice to see
Doing
you,
great.
Rabbi.
Good, good. Great backdrop there also. So if you can, this is Eric and Liz Shoenfeld, everybody. Liz, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about you guys.
About us. Well, we have two kids. We have Phoebe, who just turned 11, and Esther, who's 8. We live out in the Short Pump area. I work for the Virginia State Bar. I prosecute ethics violations for attorneys. And Eric works for a company called Prime Capital. He's an investment advisor. And that's the basics about us.
Okay, that sounds good. I really like that. It sounds like a very interesting job, the ethics issue. People might say, oh, it's grimy and it's difficult, but really it's not about, the lawyers necessarily who are breaking the ethical boundaries. It's more about making sure that the people who are doing the right thing don't get grouped along with these others who might be kind of breaking the ethical code, and having confidence in the system as a whole. Is there some accuracy to that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our mission is public protection, and we say that's always, our goal is to protect the public and not necessarily to punish the attorney. I mean, as a practical matter, in fulfilling the goal of protecting the public, that very often feels like punishment to attorneys, I'm sure, but that's not really our priority.
All right. And so, Eric, tell us a little bit about your company. And I know it's relatively new in your professional life. So what's the nature of what you do and kind of the general philosophy of the company?
Well, the general philosophy of the company is to help people achieve their life's ambitions. And I've been in this business for more than 2 decades now, and that's really kind of been my aim the whole time, in terms of using various financial programs that are available for clients, as well as just kind of taking a holistic, comprehensive approach to people's personal financial goals, getting them on track and then keeping them on track. So, we hear a lot about the numbers and whatnot, because that's something that you could objectively point to. But realistically, where I get a lot of fulfillment out of what I do is just being there with my clients as they're going through various life changes and helping them walk on that path successfully.
So it's not necessarily about the dollars and cents. It's about what enables an individual to really tackle whatever life throws at them and to be able to live out what their personal goals and agenda might be.
Absolutely. The dollars and cents is just a measuring tool to help them get there.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. So what do you guys think about raising a family in Richmond? When did you guys decide that this would be a good place to raise kids? And what do you think of your decision?
You want to take that first? Or?
Wait. Not about raising kids, about raising kids in Richmond.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was ever that deliberate of a decision on from our point of view, because we were both already living here already and had been here in Richmond for many years, and it had never really occurred to us to have the idea of moving someplace else. Mm-hmm. So it kind of went naturally with just already being here, and we were happy with the community, with our roles in it. And it made sense for us to be raising our family here as well.
Right. So
yeah, I mean, we were fully fledged adults when we met and married and had kids. So we were pretty well established here in our careers, and it just has always made sense to stay.
It's interesting because I know you all had connections to the near West End, and now you're part of the congregation, the near West End. So it's interesting how that all worked out. So Liz, what's the most interesting case, without telling us any names, that you're working on right now? You had to think of one.
Well, it's tough because the things I'm
right.
working on, I generally can't talk about. I can tell you about a case that I just finished, It was an attorney who had actually gotten suspended in April of 2019 for a year and a day in a case that I handled. And, when attorneys are suspended, they're supposed to stop practicing law, but that wasn't what this gentleman chose to do. And he, in fact, continued practicing law. He practiced in a very specialized area, so I think he thought that we wouldn't find out about it, but we did, and he was caught practicing in several different cases. So we just had another hearing regarding him last Friday. We're doing all of our hearings virtually now, kind of like this Zoom meeting. So everything's on the computer, but we've got it down pretty well. So we had the hearing, and he was disbarred on last Friday.
And hopefully that helps restore confidence for people and the people who are a part of the bar. What about you, Eric? What's one tip that you can give us for free of charge? People in the audience looking at this, what's the number one tip, or the number one mistake that people should avoid, or whichever one of those you want to choose from?
Well, probably the most timely one that's going on right now that I would suggest, I wouldn't say that it's a tip, but just some free advice, is to watch out for public trading boards like Reddit.
Okay, that sounds good.
You went there.
That's good.
I had to. I've been following this story with GameStop all week.
Right. It's so fascinating. It really is. We could totally
far away from it, but I'm following.
We could totally go off in that direction now for like another hour or two. But let's kind of pivot to the Israel trip. We had an amazing experience. I know my wife went with Liz, and I had the great pleasure of going with Eric, where Eric totally took advantage of the situation and filmed me sleeping on many occasions. But,
it looked like you were sleeping the whole time.
Well, there was a lot of jet lag for sure. But so Liz, what was that experience like for you doing JWRP? Some people watching this might not be familiar with the organization. How was it a unique experience for you?
I think it was probably, since having kids, I think it's maybe the only pleasure trip I've taken by myself since we had kids. So there was just that, experience of kind of getting away and not having my focus be so much on taking care of everyone else, and getting to be a little bit more self-focused with the trip. It really gave me an opportunity to kind of think and process about what we're doing as a family to raise Jewish children and have a Jewish family. I've always worked full time and had kids in daycare, and certainly pre-COVID and to some extent during COVID, we're always just running to the next thing. And there isn't a lot of time to kind of step back and think about how we're doing things. So the trip was a good opportunity for that. And then just to get back to Israel, I hadn't been in 22 years. So, and also some of my very closest friendships now are from people I really got to know during that trip and probably wouldn't have met otherwise.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I think it's so important now. Things are so hectic that we never really take a step back. And what a luxury and privilege and honor it was to kind of be able to do that in Israel. What about for you, Eric? What would you say about that experience being on the men's trip is something that you kind of were able to stick in your pocket and take with you?
There were a number of things. I mean, the trip itself was profound, and we really got to have some good times being with each other and deepening our friendships. The story that I always kind of come back to when asked a similar question is based off of the experience of the first day that we were in Jerusalem, and when we went to the Holocaust Memorial. And it's a profound experience for anybody to be going through there in the first place, but it was a heavy and deep experience also, and it's difficult. It had the feeling for me like attending one of my grandparents' funerals. That's how I felt when I was leaving. But then we contrasted that almost immediately after leaving there, of going into the old city for the first time on this trip, and we're walking down in the alley, and I start seeing just streams of kids, like little kids, kindergarten and younger, running through this narrow alley. So it's narrow, and there's not a lot of space to get by from one side or another. And I just kind of had this feeling. I didn't really know where I was, but I just had a feeling that there was going to be something special on the other side of the alley when we came out. And we came out and opened up into a courtyard that had a playground in it. Lots of kids playing around, and having a playground in the city itself isn't that big of a deal. But after going to the Holocaust Memorial and then seeing this almost immediately after that, when I'd been feeling really down, and then seeing all these children who at the time were about the same age as our kids, really kind of reminded me about the life of the city and the country and the opportunity that we as Jews have, that, not more than 2 generations ago, we were systematically being murdered because of our religion. And now, for the first time in thousands of years, Jerusalem is once again a Jewish city where children are able to be free and be who they are and practice their religion and being taught by their elders. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to have seen that, and it was nice for me to be able to experience that with you. I guess related but unrelated, what would you say, in your opinion, I know you both well, but what would you say is the most challenging aspect of raising Jewish children in America? I know that's a big question, but what do you think? We're not going to start morphing into some sort of online public therapy session here between all of us and the challenges that we have. But what would you say is, how would you describe the big challenge of raising Jewish children in 21st century America?
Liz wants to go first on that one.
Oh, I do. Do I? It's something that certainly hasn't been as much of a challenge with our kids as it could have been, because in some ways of the start that we gave them. But I think teaching kids to feel pride in their Judaism and feel happy about it, and like it's a good thing and a key part of their identity when they're such a minority in so many settings, and not feel bad that most other kids around them are celebrating holidays that they don't celebrate and taking part in rituals that they don't take part in. Mm-hmm. And having them, it's different when you're an adult, but when you're a kid, you just kind of want to be like everyone else, or at least I think a lot of kids just want to feel like they're like everyone else. So to kind of help them feel good about not being like everyone else.
To take pride in that. Yeah, definitely felt that way myself, for sure. Now, Eric, I have an interesting question here for you. Your dad has gotten into Torah study late in life, right? And he's gotten really serious about it. And what has that kind of been like for you to witness that? I think he might have even participated in an organization called Partners in Torah. I think he had spoken to me about that. But generally, what has it been like for you to kind of see your dad develop this really strong, sincere interest and hobby and focus kind of for you as a son, seeing your dad interested in this now later in life?
Well, it's been a nice thing to see it. It hasn't been an overnight change or anything. I mean, this is something that has kind of evolved over a series of years. So it would start off small, that he would start watching his diet a little bit better, as far as staying kosher and staying a little bit closer to home on Shabbos. And it's kind of been a progression over many years now. But to the deeper points about it, I think that he's really found some very significant meaning in it, and it has brought a closer connection with his religious and spiritual side, obviously. And I think that he has really developed as a person because of this also. And it's, like I said, because it's been gradual, it's really kind of been something that has been an easy change for him and our entire family.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. So, Liz, it's been tough during the pandemic. How do you keep sane during, balancing professional life and parenting? What have you been doing to try to keep sane during this time?
Yeah, I mean, the answer to your first question, how do I keep sane? The answer is I don't. What have I been doing to try to keep sane? Daily exercise, always, first thing in the morning to get that done. That really just helps set me up for the day so much better. And I think there's a lot of, I've been doing a ton of reading. I like, that helps me much more than the doom scrolling on my phone that I would be doing if I weren't reading in my free time. So that's helped me a lot. And then also, I'm not good at this, but trying to let go a little bit and just understand that this is temporary, and just because some things are going one way right now doesn't mean they'll always be that way.
Yeah, it's definitely a powerful point, in terms scrolling through things doesn't necessarily make us feel any better, but being focused on something productive can be helpful on occasion. So, Eric, I know you've been involved locally in a lot of different nonprofits. I think a lot of our people who are kind of viewing this might not be so familiar with Jewish Family Services. And maybe if you could tell them a little bit about the organization and why you decided to get more involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the mission of the organization is to, broadly speaking, just help people get through life. Mm-hmm. And they have a lot of different services that are set up geared towards doing that in many different ways, going from, they're an adoption agency, to doing counseling for people, for doing home health care check-ins, and even just a community-wide healthcare line. That's pretty recent, within the last 2 years or so. It's a very robust organization, and being a volunteer over there with a charitable organization fits in very nicely with kind of my view of the world and how I think that things should work, just from the standpoint of us helping each other because we want to and because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. I've been involved over there on and off for more than 10 years now, and I don't really have any plans or desire to stop helping out over there, because I feel so strongly about the mission and the work that they're doing. And I talk with Wendy Kruder, the CEO over there, pretty frequently, a couple times a week, and she's just a top-notch professional. She gets it, and she really has the heart and the caring to go through with it. Also, this last year with COVID, it's been enormously difficult, not only because of the health scare of the virus itself, but just these social bonds that have been strained. I read something not too long ago that said that when we go into quarantine, we risk the danger of social isolation. We start doing things behind closed doors, and because we're distanced from each other, those doors have gotten a lot thicker over this past year. Right. And this really fits in with what JFS was already doing. Mm-hmm. But they're one of those barriers to start opening up those doors again and really kind of embracing or re-embracing and reconnecting those social strands between us, because all of that stuff, it's so important. And I think that beyond the health scare, that we've got a lot of things kind of happening all at once. The health scare, the economic scare, it's more than a scare, this stuff is happening. Yeah, right. But the social strain and education strains on children being away from in-person education, these are things that are going to be with us and challenges, I think, for the rest of our lives. But these are the very things that JFS works towards improving.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm really happy you brought up the healthcare line. And I'll just mention to people, if anybody wants more information about the healthcare line, feel free to reach out to me, reach out to Eric. I definitely have a good relationship with Wendy also, and she's doing a lot of great things within our community. Liz, if you could think back, I'm fascinated by the law profession. I think in another life, maybe I was a lawyer. I actually used to think about trying to go into civil rights law. Maybe that will be next lifetime. We'll see. But if you could think back to one pro bono case that you did that you kind of took with you a little bit in your law profession, is there anything that you look back on and feel really good about in terms of some pro bono legal activity that you were involved in at all?
No would probably be a bad answer here, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that's the good thing about that's the good thing, we're not live. So that's
no, it's fine. I can't think of any pro bono work that particularly sticks out, but in this role that I'm in now, I've been here for 5 years. This is my first kind of public sector job where I'm not reporting to an individual client, but really in the role of a public servant. And one of the things that gets tricky with what I do is, we have often an attorney's clients who are coming to us with an issue, and I don't represent those individual clients. I represent the public interest in dealing with the attorney. But we do have, the bar has something called a client protection fund, which all attorneys, the assessment changes over time, but all attorneys pay a certain amount into that every year. And then clients who have lost money as a result of an attorney's dishonest conduct have the ability to submit claims to that fund and potentially be reimbursed for money that they've lost. And I've kind of helped direct a number of clients to that fund. There was one, and they're only eligible to recover from that fund if the attorney against whom they're complaining has been suspended, disbarred, deemed impaired, or has passed away. Mm-hmm. So there was one gentleman who he'd paid $11,000, which were his life savings, as an advanced fee to this attorney who, wow, because he'd lost access to his child. He had a toddler daughter and he wasn't being permitted to see her. So he placed his faith and all of his money in this attorney who basically abandoned the case and took his money. Wow. So I was able to pursue the attorney, took the matter to hearing. The attorney was suspended for several years, which gave this gentleman access to the client protection fund. And I believe he did get reimbursed all of the money that he had paid.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. And you really, you're a public servant. And just right now, it's hard for us not to think of the confidence that's needed today to believe in the justice system. And it's just so important for us to maintain that integrity. It's not black and white, right? It's a sliding scale for sure, but we want to have more confidence and less confidence in this system that we all rely on to help make society go around. So I want to thank you both for your time. Thank you, Liz and Eric. Appreciate it as always, and look forward to getting together more in person when this is all done, and being at Shul. Now, it might look like I'm in Shul right now, but it's a virtual background. You too can have this virtual background if you like. And I wish you guys all the best.
This is a real background, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, my background was easier, and it's not real. So, all right. Well, you great day, and thanks very much for doing this.
Thanks, Rabbi. Great to see you.